Hi guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be pruning fruit trees. We're dormant pruning, clearly. You can see the trees right behind me. I'm standing in front of our orchard where we have 9 fruit trees. There are 2 apples, 2 apricots, 2 peaches, a pear, a plum, and a nectarine. Supposed to be 53 degrees today though, which is so nice. So most of these trees are going into their 3rd season. The 2 apricots, which flank the front of the flower shed, one on either side, those went in last spring. So those are the newest ones. None of these are super huge at the moment, so we're not going to have to do a tremendous amount, but there's still some work to be done. A few reasons why you want to prune your fruit trees. 1, to keep them at a manageable size and shape so that it's easy to harvest your fruit. 2nd, for the health of the tree, removing anything dead or damaged or diseased. That's pretty important for the life of your tree. It makes your trees happier, healthier, and more productive. Also, when you prune, it increases airflow, which helps with pests and disease, and it also helps sunlight penetrate into the tree, which helps produce larger fruit. There are 3 different methods of pruning usually. There's the central leader method, where you leave a central leader in the tree, one strong upright branch that kind of determines the size and shape of the tree. In that case, you usually end up with a lot bigger of a tree, so it can be a little bit harder to harvest your fruit. They are really pretty to look at though, so you kind of have to just decide there if that's what you want. There's the open vase system, which is I think the easiest way to maintain your trees. You'll see a lot of apples, peaches, nectarines, a lot of fruit trees are pruned this way, where the central leader is completely cut out and you've got more of an open vase look to your tree. A lot of orchards around here are pruned that way, and I think it just helps the tree send a lot of energy into those lower branches, so they're very productive. And then there is the modified central leader system, which is what I'm going to be doing, because I don't care for the way that the open vase trees look, and I do want our orchard to be pretty and productive at the same time. So when you do the modified central leader, it looks like a mix between a central leader and an open vase system, where we're going to have several upright, stronger branches, but not just one leader. There's going to be several up there that will keep heading back, so cutting back, so that they stay strong, but they don't get out of control in the height department. And by heading back and keeping things lower like that, it's going to encourage more lateral, horizontal branching, and it'll keep it a little bit more open that way. This right here is a Fuji apple tree, and I think a really good example of a modified central leader. There's not one specific branch that's going up through the center that looks like it wants to take over. I'm really happy with the structure of this tree. We do have quite a bit of interior cleanup to do, which I'll go through all those steps here in a minute. There's a lot of like little wispy branches we need to cut off. But you can see as you get into the interior of this tree, there are 3 very dominant branches, not just one. Like this one looks like you could have maybe trained it into a central leader, and maybe it would want to take over at some point and do that. It looks like if you follow it up, it would want to be this one right here. But we leave like some really strong upward branches and we just head them back. In fact, if you look, let's see, if we follow that main one whoop up to there, you can see where I headed it back last year and it turned into 2 branches up there. So anyway, this is kind of what we're going for here. And we will just kind of keep on heading it back to keep the growth a little bit short than others. Same goes for this apricot tree right here. You can see, you know, the main trunk, you follow it up, it turns right here into what looks like it wants to be the central leader. And we're just going to make sure that this one keeps going up as well. And we'll be heading that back. And here we have a peach tree. Again, very nice looking structure there. If we were wanting to do the open vase structure, we'd be taking all of this out. Just lopping that off and letting the branches grow like this. There are so many buds on this tree though. All these buds that are gonna wanna be blooms and wanna be fruit. Oh, we're gonna be cutting a lot of the weaker stuff off so that we kind of eliminate some of the load that this tree has the potential to have. The tools you need for this project are fairly minimal. I do have a ladder out here because I think I am going to need it at least for the plum tree. And then I'm not making any huge cuts, so I don't need loppers today. I think I can just use my Felcos. And then I've got some rubbing alcohol and paper towels. It's super important to clean your shears, your pruners, in between each tree, because even if you don't see a disease present on your tree, it could still have one, and you don't want to spread something from one tree to another. So anyway, between each tree, we will be cleaning our pruners. There's kind of 3 steps to the pruning process. The first one is to take care of anything diseased, damaged, or dead, the 3 Ds. That's a really easy one. Stand back, look at your tree, just really scrutinize the branches. Does anything look dead? Cut those out. Anything broken or cracked? Cut those out. Anything diseased? Cut those out. If you think that you have cut anything that has been diseased, clean your pruners. Even as you keep pruning on the same tree, you don't want to spread anything from one branch to possibly the rest of the tree. Step number 2 is to cut out any crisscrossing branches that are competing for the same space, anything growing back up toward the center of the tree, any weak growth. Then after all that's done, we actually start in on our training cuts. Okay, I'm gonna do my best to show you each one of these steps. I just walked around and looked for anything diseased, damaged, or dead. I did so much pruning last year that I'm not finding a whole lot of examples. I think on this peach tree, we had one little tiny dead branch. This is what you look for dead branches. See how this one looks nice and freshly colored? This one right here, this one is pale. It looks kind of sunken in spots. This one we're gonna cut out. I can't even believe that's all. That's it. We have to cut out this year. So dead branches and broken branches are pretty easy to spot in your trees. Diseased branches will look like they have had an open wound at some point. They may even have some like sticky looking sap. That kind of stuff you do want to get rid of. As you're making your cuts, let me show you where you should be cutting them. So this branch right here, this is just a really kind of weaker branch that's wanting to come up and compete with this one. So as you get ready to make your cuts, you will see kind of a swollen area right around the base of that stem. That's called a collar. You want to not cut into that color or too far into the branch you want to save. So what we're gonna do is come in with our pruners and cut just before that collar. Ooh, can we see? Let's see, yeah, just like this. We just leave a tiny little stub right there. So again, like on this branch, you can see where it's kind of swollen right around the base. So we cut just before that. Same goes for when you're cutting bigger branches. I'm not actually gonna cut this, but I wanted to show you there's the collar right there. You can definitely see that very easily. You don't want to cut into that or too far into the trunk, so we'd want to make our cut right about in here, right before that collar. Step 2 is coming in and cutting out any crisscrossing branches. So look for things like this right here. See how this branch is growing in and wanting to take over this branch? We don't want that, so you take out things like that. I take out anything growing back in toward the middle of the tree. So this one comes out, as do these. Oh, that just lightens that load right in there. And then like in this area right here, I've got this branch that's coming off this bigger one here, and then this one is growing more straight up. I'm gonna get rid of the one growing straight up. This one's growing back in. After crisscrossing branches are done, I take out anything that's just really small and spindly. I don't really want the tree sending energy into keeping these little tiny branches alive. I want it to send energy into the nice big growth that can actually support the weight of the apples. So I'm gonna finish up cleaning out this tree, getting all the crisscrossing and weak growth out, and then we'll look at the heading cuts and the training cuts. Okay, interior cleanup is done for the most part. I'll probably find a few branches here and there as I make my next cuts that I want to take out, but it looks really nice and open. You can see all of the air in here. You know, a lot of light and air is going to be able to get into this tree, which will make it happy. So now we start in with our heading back and training cuts. So to do that, see how we've got like this longer stem right here? The heading cuts just help maintain the size, the overall size. So what you do is you follow this back, and you can see all the new growth from last year. See where it starts right there, and it's like nice and fuzzy and fresh. You follow that back to an outward facing bud in about the space you want it, and you make your cut there. And that will create new growth out this way. You don't want to cut it at a bud like that's facing toward the inside of the tree, because then the new branch that comes out will head back in toward the center. And I left a few of these old little apples on here so you could see kind of where they come off. See all of these like growth spurs right here? That's oftentimes where you'll see the apples forming on that old growth. So another heading cut, see this really tall branch right in there? I'm gonna follow it back and cut it just above an outward facing bud, like that. So you can see that stem and that stem, how they've been brought back in, and that will help keep this tree in check. And I think I'm gonna need to grab the ladder even for a tree this size, because those heading cuts at the very tippy top are just out of my reach. All right guys, so this is what came off the apple tree. See, it's not a tremendous amount of pruning at this stage of this tree's life because it's so small, but you can see it's got a really nice shape to it. I just took down a little bit of that vertical growth so that we maintain an easy tree to harvest from, and plenty of light and air should reach throughout the whole tree. Hey bud. So that's basically all I'm going to be doing on all of these trees since I'm using the same pruning method, the modified central leader. The nectarine and peaches will be a little bit more intensive in the clean out process because they've got a lot of interior, like weaker growth. So we may have a few more trimmings from those trees, but overall this process is pretty simple. It shouldn't take us too long. Here we go. This is as far as I'm going to take this one today. I did cut one of the leaders that was up there down quite a long ways to kind of even these out a little bit. And I took quite a bit of this under area out. I did leave quite a number of branches in here. I might be thinning out a little bit more of this later, but last year we had a weird late frost that took a bunch of my peaches. It was right when the tree was in bloom. So I'm hoping by leaving a few more blooms this year, if that happens again, hopefully we'll get more peaches than we did this last year. So anyway, after, you know, fruit start to form, I might be pruning out a few more of these branches. But it looks a lot better than it did when I very first started, for sure. I'll probably be taking out these lower branches too eventually. I'll let them fruit this year, see how they do. I cut a bunch of downward growth, like right here. This branch was like coming way down and out. I cut those off, a few of those, and it's looking a little bit more tidy, but I eventually will want the canopy up a little ways. But we got quite a nice pile off of this tree. All right, we've got 7 more to go. Got it all done out here at least. We've got 2 more fruit trees up closer to the house, but these first 2 trees, the ones in front, are a lot smaller, so those didn't require very much. I kind of topped them and cut any wild branches, but that is it. On this nectarine, now this one could stand to be thinned a little bit more, just like the peaches, but again, I just want to protect it from any late frost, and hopefully we have a really good harvest. We had a great harvest on this one last year, but I'm really happy with the growth habit of this tree. I think it looks really, really great. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. Probably come in sometime in the summer and thin out a little bit more of this tree. This plum is one that I actually pruned on the hardest, I think. I brought it down quite a bit, and then it had a lot of water sprout activity going on. So if you look at the tree here, you can see what the branches look like. They're kind of a darker color. Of course, the newer ones are a little bit lighter, but water sprouts have a completely different vibe. They usually look like this, smooth without any side branching. There are some buds here, but what they do is they come out and they usually grow straight up through the canopy of the tree. And that's what these were doing. So I cut all of those out and exposed the actual structure of the tree that I want to keep, and it looks really nice. The pear here is the red Bartlett that had a fire blight, so we're actually digging this one out. I didn't even touch it today. Then of course we've got the 2 peach trees back here. This one I think I thinned out more than the others. This one I might be thinning out a little bit more, but looks good. And then our other apricot and apple. So we already sprayed these the other day, just a little less than a week ago. So this orchard is good to go for the season, you know, other than just a little maintenance along the way. And then if we start in with a fruit tree spray, which I will be doing on the apple trees, I will show you at that time. Usually we start that after about 2/3 of the petals have fallen during its bloom time. And you know, some people will wait 2-3 seasons before they start pruning on their fruit trees. And I'm not sure what age of fruit trees, you know, you would do that with. With these, they're usually like 10 or 15 gallon sized trees that I'm planting. They're a little bit older, and I feel like just starting in, even if it's just a few cuts every year, I feel like starting in right away is a really good idea, just to get the shape you want and just to keep the growth in check and all those things. That way it just doesn't become a huge chore. Like today, it just took us, I don't know, an hour maybe or less. Okay, now we're gonna head up to do the Pear Espalier that's behind the barn and the Dwarf Peach tree by the chicken coop. Here we are with the Pear Espalier that needs some serious pruning attention. It has really loved this location back here, even though the plan last spring was to move it, the plan this spring is to move it, but it just carries on like nothing else back here. Okay, so as we take a closer look at this tree, I wanted to show you the fruiting spurs. So these are older wood. This is where the fruit is produced. There's cheddar. So you can see the buds on the ends there. Those will produce blooms, and then we'll have tons of fruit. And this tree loads up every season. It's a Shinseki Asian pear. They are delicious. They're sweet. They're round in shape, and they're a little bit more apple texture than pear texture, but they're sweeter than a traditional pear. So I really enjoy them. But we want all the energy to go into the blooming and fruiting, not into creating more growth, because we want to keep our nice structure. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in and cut right below this new growth, right above a bud. So like that. And then same thing right here, right below, right above a bud. There we go. Here's another one right here. Just cut that thing off. If you were to take this branch down up above the new growth here, you can see like the color there and then the new growth. If you were to do that and leave a bud, then it would produce lateral branches and more foliar growth. It wouldn't fruit on that this year. But that might be a stage that you're in with your espalier. You might be in the stage of needing more branches in certain spots, so you can make cuts like that if you need to. Right in here, if we wanted to train one of these over, we could do that at this point, but we don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at this point. They look kind of tortured, I'm not gonna lie, but that side is done. So we have this side and then our 2 other levels here to go. Much better and ready to go for the season. And last is our Dwarf Peach tree, which is a pixie miniature peach. It's been in this container now for 3 years, I think. I don't think I'm going to do much pruning on it, other than I can see a broken branch right here, so I'm going to cut that out. And then, are there dead branches in here? Possibly. That looks dead. That looks dead. Yeah, some of these interior ones. Yeah, that one's, no, let's see, I'm going to cut that one maybe there. Yeah, just a few of these little side shoots. Yeah, I think that this is it right here. Just a few little dead branches and then the one that's alive that was broken. But overall, it looks pretty darn good. And there's no competing anything in this tree, so we're good to go. Oh my goodness, and you guys, huge shout out to Paul and Bethany. They have been hard at it cleaning out flower beds and making everything look really, really pretty over here. Oh, I cannot wait to be planting. Oh, real quick. I know this has nothing to do with fruit tree pruning, but look what's coming up. We've got bulbs pushing through. That's so exciting. I cannot wait. And you guys, that is gonna do it for our fruit tree pruning for this time of year anyway. If we do any summer pruning, I'll bring you along for that. And then, like I said, I'll bring you along for any other spraying that we do over there. But overall, I've been super happy with that space. Super happy with the productivity of those trees, even though we're only just going into year number 3 with some of them, year number 2 with a couple of the others. They've just been a really great addition to our garden. And my favorites for sure are the Flavor Top Nectarine, the Santa Rosa Plum, the Alberta Peach, the Tilton Apricot, and the Shinseki Pear out of all of them. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go out and enjoy the rest of this 53-degree day. It's just glorious. I don't have to wear a coat. I love it. Spring's on its way. See you guys in the next video. Bye.